Hello everyone, and welcome to the Red Bull Ring in Austria. No, wait, that's not correct, is it? Excuse me. Welcome to LSA. So, welcome to qualifying, where everyone competes to set the slowest lap time. Oh, no wait, no, that's not backwards either. Okay, so we are in fact doing the normal qualifying session. We haven't made the whole weekend backwards just yet. So we are in fact still competing to set the fastest time over a single lap. So this is my very first lap that I'm putting together, and I was initially planning for it to be a simple banker lap, but unfortunately I get on the inside curb in what is probably turn 4. So I continue to push, but I eventually realized that it's probably better for me to save the battery and push on the next lap. I had put several laps of fuel in the car, which is quite easy to do around here because of how short the lap is. So going again, this is my second lap, and unfortunately I mess up the second corner quite badly, getting on the inside curb, which you really have to avoid. If you get on it, it's almost guaranteed to cause you to spin if you don't back out on the throttle, and then I just mess up turn 4 again. So I have to go again on the same set of tires, and now finally I was able to put together a decent banker lap. However, I did still make quite a few mistakes. I missed a couple of apexies, and also into the notorious turn 8. I ended up braking a bit too late, went deep into the corner, and I was certainly feeling the tires going away towards the end of this lap. This is the third flying lap I'm putting onto these tires, plus the out lap. So we come across the line, putting together a 105.0, which is most certainly not going to be competitive for very long. So I've now put on a new set of soft tires, but I did not put enough fuel in the car to do a push-cool-push. And on my warm-up lap, I decided to over-scrub the front left tire to try and get some heat into it. And I very quickly learned not to do that in those corners because, my word, those temperatures spike. And the tire air just increased exponentially, so it's not worth doing that. But going on to the lap, I'm starting to find time, putting together a clean lap. Well, we are almost half a second up into turn 8. We brake hard. We do end up going a bit deep, but we do find time on the way in and on the way out of the corner. End up setting a purple sector 2, so this is looking to be a decent lap. But into the final turn, we just go a bit too deep and invalidate that lap. And I didn't have enough fuel in the car to do another flying lap, so this right here is just a practice run in a way. I don't have enough fuel to complete the lap and then make it back to the pits. So I'm just very much pushing on this lap to try and learn about the track as much as I can, and then into the pits and put another set of soft tires on. But here in turn 5 we get so much understeer and nearly end up driving into that very deadly piece of barrier there, which could have very easily ended my qualifying session there and then. So here we are on to what will be my penultimate flying lap. We do have a little bit of traffic in front of us in the form of Boogeyman and the Racing Bulls, but it's honestly not too much of a problem. We do touch the inside curb ever so slightly in turn 4, but it doesn't affect us too much, and hopefully we'll be able to complete this lap without invalidating it, because at this point I was genuinely starting to panic. There's only 2 minutes left on the clock, and I'm last place by a fairly big margin. We do, unfortunately, go a bit deep into the final turn, which does delay our exit slightly, but we are still able to put together a very good lap of a 104.2, and I was actually very happy with that lap. It was only just over 2/10 off pole position at this point in time, so I was very much expecting it to put me in the top 5, but it only put me P7. I didn't realize just how condensed the whole field was. So here we are on our final lap. We do end up losing a little bit of time here in turn 5. Obviously the tyres aren't giving their peak grip because this is their second flying lap. But for now, I just need to try and keep it clean, not lose any more time, and just try and carry this advantage through to the end. We will get a very slight tow from Boogeyman out in front. And here we end up nailing turn 8, gaining quite a bit of time, but this is where I make a fairly substantial error. I don't deploy as much battery as I should have, so I don't take advantage of the tow that I'm getting from Boogeyman. I save way too much of my battery for the straight after the final turn. We do nail the final turn a lot better than the lap before, and we are able to improve by just under a 1/10 of a second, which is surprisingly enough to leap me up into 5th place. And there, as you can see, the grid is just so tight. Only 6/10 cover the entire field. So we'll be starting in 5th place, which is honestly not a bad place to start in. It gives me a chance to see what sort of pace everyone else has during the race and what sort of strategies they'll be going on to. Speaking of strategies, I'll be focusing initially on doing a 2-stop, but a 1-stop is possible. So depending on how things go for me, depending on whether I get stuck in a lot of traffic, or if I actually end up getting into a lot of clean air, I might choose to go for either one. So we'll go to the start of the race now. So lights out and away we go, and we get a brilliant start compared to Glitch. We'll be on the outside for turn 1. Unfortunately, we do somehow go over track limits ever so slightly, but then into turn 2 we just get so much understeer. We wash out wide, and that lets Glitch back through. And then turn 4, again, just tremendous understeer in the dirty air. France behind us definitely trying to have a look at us, but now Glitch is the one to go wide in front. I was looking maybe doing an overtake here into turn 7, but Glitch covered off the inside just enough to make me feel less comfortable about throwing in an overtake. Now France is right behind us. He's going to show his nose to the inside, cause me to brake. Too late, into the side of Glitch. Contact between the two of us. Very slight damage to my own front wing. Thankfully no damage to Glitch as far as I'm aware. Sorry Glitch, that was fully on me. Actually, no, I'm going to put that fully on France. You know, he stuck his nose up the inside. He distracted me. So very clearly he's the one to blame. I can never make mistakes. So clearly France was wholly to blame for that unfortunate incident. So lap 2 and take 2. Can we overtake Glitch without barreling into the side of him? Well, we are clearly too far back to make any sort of move into turn 8, but Glitch does go slightly wide, which will give us an excellent run into the final turn. Putting alongside, hit our brakes, and we miss the corner. So we lose that position, and we lose another position to France, and almost lose position to Skilly behind, but thankfully he doesn't commit to that overtake. So I've now gained one position and then immediately lost that position plus another one with a very silly mistake. But it's still very early days. The race is not over by any means. I just need to stick behind France, let him overtake Glitch, and then try and follow suit as quickly as I can. And France is going to make his move almost immediately as Glitch goes wide in T7. France is going to be alongside. I did consider throwing one up the inside into turn 8, but I decided against it, and sure enough, Glitz goes quite deep into the corner in front of me, which is going to give me an excellent run down the hill. And hopefully this time I remember where I'm supposed to brake for the final turn. So braking much earlier for the final turn ends up being the perfect braking point, and we are able to get a decent run out of the corner as well, so that way Glitch has no chance of getting us back. Now, looking back at the recordings, I have noticed that I was braking incorrectly for a lot of these corners, but more on that later. For now, out in front, into turn 8, we're going to find a rather confused looking Wheeze pointing the wrong direction. Very clearly he's forgotten which direction he's supposed to be going in, and as such just pulled off to the side of the road and asked us very kindly if we could point him in the correct direction. Which of course we all did, and he very quickly followed suit behind us. But you have to remember, we are in a race, so that is one extra position for us. So thank you very much, Wheeze. Now it is lap 6, and out of turn 8, France gets a bit of wheel spin, which allows us to get a bit closer to him, make him a little bit nervous, but otherwise nothing much else is going to happen here. Now we have caught up to the back of Lamb Royal, who is in second place at this point in time, so the race is looking quite good for us. We just need to find a way past Lamb Royal, and then we ourselves will be on the podium. There is a yellow flag behind, as Wheeze has lost his way again, but he seems to have remembered which direction he's going in as he continues on with no more problems. Out in front though, there's plenty of problems for Lamb Royal as he's being hounded by France, which is now going to give us an excellent run on him and allow us to stay in the slipstream of France with DRS and make the pass well before the final turn. And again, thankfully this time we don't go off the track. So there we go, we are now in P3, and the tyre wear is actually looking quite good on these mediums. So we can just focus on staying on the track, keeping it clean, and hopefully not bin it and pit it into the wall. But France in front is clearly feeling the tyre wear on his rear tyres as he has a fairly big snap of oversteer, which is going to put us right behind him, and this time I'm going to do to him what he did to me on the first lap. Slowing my nose to the inside, causing to brake a bit too late, and Lamb Royal behind also is caught out by my antics. Unfortunately, I think that caused Lamb Royal to lose his front wing end plate, so again, apologies there, Lamb Royal. I didn't mean to catch you out like that. But look at that, the tactic worked on France at least, and we've got past him well before the final turn. Now, strategy-wise, I was still committed to the two-stop. I personally think that the two-stop was the quickest strategy on pace at this track. So lap 9 and France behind is going to pit, so clearly committing to the two-stop. Now at this stage I was starting to wonder if I should commit to a one-stop. After all, I'll have clean air, the tyre wear is not too bad, and I'm not that quick on fresh tyres around here, and I was sort of struggling to extract all of the pace out of the tyres around here, so I felt a bit more comfortable staying out on more worn mediums and just sort of trying to eke them to the end of lap 15, which was my planned pit stop lap for one stop. Meanwhile, end of lap 10, Lima Jonas has pitted onto the hard tyres, also committing to the two-stop. Now thankfully there are a number of drivers behind me who have started the race on the hard tyres, so because of that they're going to hold up France and Lima Jonas slightly, which is excellent for me. Unfortunately, this isn't excellent for me. In fact, it's rather unhelpful. So, thank you, EA. It's always a great joy when the game decides to crash randomly. So, this is what happened while I was trying to get back into the session. Spikes is still out on his hard tires. Manuma Jonas has got through, but Remco has managed to pit his car into the wall, bringing out the safety car right as I join the session. So as far as I'm aware, the game pitted me onto the hard tires at the end of lap 14. So if it weren't for the safety car, I might not have been able to take these hards to the end of the race. So thank you very much, Remco, for very considerately pitting your car on the wall. So out in front, most people fitted new tires. For Spikes, the safety car sort of worked out for him in the fact that it allowed him to pit from being at the front of the field, but since he's still on the hard tires, he had to put mediums on, which is going to make it much more difficult for him to take those tires all the way to the end of the race. So now we're going to be doing a safety car restart, or maybe not, because the safety car is still on the track. So currently the game has glitched out. It's called the safety car in, but the call was so late that the safety car is still out on track. So this is not a true safety car restart, but many of us did not know it at the time. So those in front are about to release the field. There they go, they've released the field, but Skilly isn't pulling away that quickly. I had to lift to avoid overtaking him before the finish line. But even after I overtook him after the finish line, obviously we still under safety car conditions, so the game told me that I'd done an illegal overtake, so I had to give the position back. Now the other driver in the mix here was Baby Boy in the Williams. He had overtaken both me and Skilly, and I presumed that he'd done so after the finish line. I think he was trying to let me back through here, but I was a bit reluctant. I was very confused as to who had overtaken me and who had not. But as you can see, according to this image here, Baby Boy had actually overtaken me before the finish line. So for that matter, he was given a 10-second penalty by the game. So now, one lap later, the safety car is now finally able to enter the pits. So we'll be able to get this race underway for good this time. Now the leaders have already gone. I was a bit late to react to this. I think everyone was a bit late to react to that release. Manuma Jonas out in front did a very early safety car restart there. Worked out beautifully in his favour, and in a way sort of caused all of us to just fan out a little bit and prevent things getting too chaotic too quickly. Now here into turn 8, Baby Boy is able to do a very good move around the outside of Skilly. So that was quite a nice move there, Baby Boy. I thought it was very well executed. Now, one thing I want to point out that you might have seen in the screenshot from earlier is that Skilly has lost an entire front wing end plate, so he's losing a lot of front downforce. He's going to be encountering a lot of understeer. So I don't want to be held up behind him for too long here. I want to get past him as quickly as I can. So here, going through turn 3, I'm quite close behind Skilly, and he's going to get a lot of understeer in turn 4, go wide. That will give me an option to dive up the inside into turn 5, braking a little bit later, carrying the speed through, and we've got the move done. And that has slowed Skilly up, and that's going to allow Pantry Star to also make up a position. Now about my braking difficulties. I've noticed that for many of the hard braking zones I wasn't hitting 100% brake pressure. So I was braking more 80%, and that was causing a lot of my braking to be somewhat inconsistent. Some corners I was braking too soon, and then other corners I was braking too late. And that was just because I wasn't braking at 100% at the start of the braking zone. Now, one of the reasons I think I was doing that is I've recently been doing quite a few laps in a set of course around the Nordschleife, and a lot of those cars, especially around the Nordschleife, requires you to brake only about 40%, 50% brake pressure. So I think I was just lacking some of that muscle memory for this race. Now, Siphon has managed to put his car on the wall. How exactly, I'm not entirely sure, but that has brought out the virtual safety car. And this is going to play a very big role in my race very soon. As we go to the end of lap 27, the virtual safety car is now going to be ending. As we cross the finish line, something weird happens to the delta. It goes from plus 0.2 to over a second and a half. I'm caught out by this. I was not fully looking at the delta here, and I don't think I quite registered how much the delta had jumped. So I didn't go any quicker, and because of that I lost a huge amount of time to the car behind, who happens to be Wheeze. So now I'm going to have to fend him off, and now he's in my DRS zone, so it's going to be very difficult to pull away from him. And sure enough, by the end of lap 28, going into lap 29, we are under tremendous pressure from Wheeze behind, who's close enough to have a look up the inside, but thankfully he doesn't fully commit to that move and I don't make any mistakes here. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said about the end of this lap. Again, very similar situation. Wheeze is right behind us, applying the pressure, although he doesn't seem to be gaining on us quite as much down the straight into turn 1, and then I just fumble. I make a mistake, I don't brake anywhere near as hard as I should have, which causes me to go wide, miss the corner, that lets Wheeze through. And now I'm trying to make sure I don't make a similar mistake and let Pantry Star through as well, and into turn 4, make a mistake, carry too much speed into the corner, go very wide, nearly over track limits. Pantry Star is now all over the back of me, but thankfully he goes wide himself into turn 5. So at this moment, I'm just trying to settle down and not make any more mistakes. Settle back into rhythm. I know Wheeze is on the mediums. His tires should start giving him less grip than mine. That's the moment where I can strike. But there's no need to, because Wheeze locks up into turn 8, goes wide, and that's going to give me a run on him into the final turn with DRS in the slipstream. Ignore Mark, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We fly past into the final turn, we pick up braking point, and we get a really decent exit out of the final turn. No chance whatsoever for Wheeze to re-overtake us. Although he is still quite close there, but all good, all good. Here we are at the end of lap 33, into the final turn, and on the corner exit we are just going to open up the steering wheel a little bit too much, get a track limit warning for that. And as you can see here in the slow motion replay, it was by the tiniest of margins that I went over the white line. And that's going to be enough to give us a second track limit warning, and then we get a snap of oversteer on the next lap in turn 4, which carries us over the white line and gets us a 3-second penalty. This is not great, as we are catching up to Spikes in front, who does not have a 3-second penalty. So not only do I need to overtake Spikes now, I now also need to pull a 3-second gap if I am to finish in 3rd place. So now we are on to the penultimate lap. We are right behind Spikes into turn 7. And we do get a decent exit, but he also gets a really good exit in front, and I'm not that willing to throw it up the inside into turn 8. So we're going to stay behind for now. We are going to prioritize getting a really good exit out of turn 8, and we do indeed do that. Tuck behind into the slipstream. We are now able to fly past with DRS into the final turn, but here I brake a little bit too late, and I also don't brake hard enough again. So that causes me to have a compromised exit, and that is going to allow Spikes to challenge me into turn 1. I do hold him off for now on the inside, but he's going to get the switchback, which is very powerful in this corner. And he's on the inside for turn 2, but we are just about able to hang it around the outside, and we have enough battery to pull ahead of him. And now he's going to be side by side with Wheeze behind us in turn 4. Wheeze gets a big moment of oversteer there, but he is still side by side. I'm pushing as hard as I can. This is my opportunity to try and open up that 3-second gap. Spikes and Wheeze are still fighting behind. This is brilliant news for me. I just need to keep pushing, and I hope that the two behind slow each other just enough so I can build a 3-second gap to Spikes. Wheeze isn't really an issue because he's got a 6-second penalty now, and behind, Spikes goes deep into turn 8, slowing him down even more. Wheeze is now going side by side with him. He's going to overtake him on the straight before the final turn. This is the final lap. Maluma Jonas has won the Grand Prix, and we are going to cross the line on track in 4th place. Baby Boy in front has a 13-second penalty. We'll move in front of him, and Spikes will move in front of us. So all in all, we finish in 4th place. So here are the results, and thank you everyone for watching. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.